Hey there, welcome back to my kitchen. In today's video, we're going to be making 3 very delicious chicken recipes. There is some good variety in today's recipes, so I do hope that you find one that looks good to you. But let's go ahead and get started, and I'll show you how to make these delicious chicken recipes. Kicking off today's video, we're going to go ahead and start with this chicken street taco recipe. Into this gallon-sized Ziploc bag, I'm adding 2 chicken breasts that I cut in half into 4 pieces just to make them a little bit thinner. Next, add a 1/4 cup of olive oil, 2 tablespoons of lime juice, 1½ teaspoons of chili powder, 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1 teaspoon of dried chopped onion, 1 teaspoon of oregano, 1 teaspoon of cumin, a 1/2 teaspoon of smoked paprika, a 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and a 1/2 teaspoon of pepper. Once everything is in the bag, I'm going to go ahead and seal it up and make sure all of the air is out. Then you just want to make sure that it's mixed together really well, covering the chicken all over. Place this in the refrigerator until you're ready to use it. You want to let it go for at least an hour or 2. I actually let mine sit in the fridge for close to 6 hours. Once it was time to cook, I went ahead and heated up a couple tablespoons of avocado oil in my pan. And now I'm just going to place all the chicken in here and let it cook for about 3 to 4 minutes per side until it's hitting 165 degrees all the way through. Now to make the topping, I'm just chopping up a little bit of red onion, 1 jalapeno, and just a handful of cilantro. I never really measure this stuff, I just kind of eyeball it. And then once it's all chopped up, I'm going to add a dash of salt and a couple drips of lime juice. Now that my chicken has finished cooking, I'm just going to place it on my cutting board. I am going to let this sit for about 5 minutes after cooking it just to allow it to rest for a moment. And then once it's cooled down, you can go ahead and cut this up into little bite-sized pieces. I did also go ahead and just kind of brown up some of these street tortillas. Once everything is ready to go, you can go ahead and add the chicken and the cilantro topping into your tortilla. I did go ahead and top mine with just a little bit of sour cream, but you can add any toppings that you like. After marinating the chicken, this meal honestly comes together very quickly. And on the side here, I did also make some Mexican rice topped with some Fiesta style cheese. These chicken tacos are so flavorful, I definitely recommend trying this recipe specifically. The original recipe will be linked down below for you. Next up, we're making a delicious pizza recipe. This is a chicken and garlic white sauce pizza. For this one, you will need to preheat your oven to 400 degrees. And then to begin, we're going to go ahead and make our seasoning mix. You'll be needing a 1/2 teaspoon of garlic and onion powder, a 1/2 teaspoon of Cajun seasoning, and a 1/2 teaspoon of ranch seasoning. You will also need just a little bit of salt and pepper, but I forgot to add it in at this step, so you'll be seeing me add that in later. Now I'm just going to mix that together, and then we're just going to take 1 chicken breast that I cut in half just to make it a little bit thinner, and we're going to cover that chicken with this seasoning. Now moving over here to my hot skillet, I did add about a tablespoon of avocado oil in here. We're just going to go ahead and cook the chicken until it reaches 165 degrees. At this point, I did realize I forgot the salt and pepper, so I just went ahead and sprinkled my chicken with a little bit of each. Once the chicken has finished cooking, you can go ahead and just set it aside for now. Next, we're going to go ahead and prepare the sauce, so I'm going to go ahead and melt 2 tablespoons of butter in my little pan here. Once the butter has melted, I'm adding about a tablespoon worth of minced garlic in there. Let that cook for about 30 seconds to a minute until you can really smell the garlic, and then you'll add in 1 tablespoon of flour. Let the flour sit in there for a moment. It'll begin to thicken up. Once you notice it thickening up a little bit, then you can go ahead and start adding in 1 cup of milk. I was actually using some half and half, but half and half or regular milk will work just fine. I just added in a little bit at a time, just making sure to mix each time really well, and then eventually you will start noticing that all begin to thicken up as well. Now we're just going to add any type of herb seasoning that you like. This is my favorite all-purpose seasoning, so I'm going to add about a half teaspoon of that. With that, I'm also going to add a 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder and a half teaspoon of dried parsley. Now just give this another really good stir together and let it continue to thicken up for another minute or two. I'm just going to add in about 2 to 3 tablespoons of fresh Parmesan cheese and give that a moment to melt down. Now it's time to start chopping, so I'm actually going to slice about 3 or 4 mushrooms, just a little bit of red onion, some fresh basil, 1 Roma tomato, and then finally we're going to go ahead and cut that chicken up into nice small bite-sized pieces. You will also need to prepare some pizza dough. I will link the recipe that I like down below for you. It's very easy to make and doesn't take the whole day. I went ahead and prepared that and added it onto my pizza pan with some parchment paper, just so it would be easy to transfer my pizza off the pan. Now you can go ahead and spread all of your white sauce onto the pizza. Just make sure it's nice and even all around. After spreading the sauce, then you can begin adding the toppings. So first we're going to add all of the chicken. Then on top of the chicken, we're going to add 1 cup of shredded mozzarella cheese. One cup of Colby Jack cheese. Then we're going to move on to my mushrooms. You can add as many or as little of these as you want. Same thing for the red onion. If you only want to add a little bit, you can do that, or if you want to add a lot, then go ahead and add a lot of that. Moving on with the tomato, my husband does not like fresh tomato like this on his pizza, so I just went ahead and added that to my half. And then over top, I'm adding more of the Parmesan cheese that I used in the sauce. This Parmesan is a shaved Parmesan. Then you'll also need to add some of the basil on. I like to add a little bit beforehand and then add a little bit after it comes out of the oven as well. And then last thing before this does go in the oven is we're just going to sprinkle it lightly with some more of that all-purpose seasoning. I went ahead and baked my pizza for about 15 to 17 minutes until the crust was done all the way through. And then like I said, once it came out of the oven, I added just a little bit more of the basil on top. Here's what my plate looked like in the end. This pizza turned out to be so good. The garlic sauce is amazing. I really liked having the fresh tomatoes on here just because it added an extra element of freshness, which I really loved. Another thing, this pizza is very filling. I actually made a pepperoni and cheese pizza to go along with this just in case my husband was not a fan. But we ended up not even touching the pepperoni pizza because this one turned out to be so good. Next up, we're going to make this chicken meatball and orzo meal. Into this large bowl, I'm adding 1 pound of chicken, 1 egg, half a cup of panko breadcrumbs, half a cup of grated Parmesan cheese, and about half a teaspoon of garlic powder, onion powder, and salt. Then you'll just get in there with your hand and get that all mixed together. Once it's mixed really well, then you can go ahead and start rolling these into meatballs. You can make them as big or small as you'd like. Moving over to my stovetop, I'm going to go ahead and get some water boiling for my orzo, and then here in the front I have a skillet sitting here. Into the skillet you'll need to add 1 to 2 tablespoons of avocado oil. Let that heat up, and then you're going to add your meatballs in here. I let these meatballs cook for about 2 minutes, and then I went ahead and flipped them over to the next side, and then I just repeated that, letting it cook for another 2 minutes and then flipping them again to the next side. Once these meatballs are reaching 165 degrees in the center, then you know they're done. Now getting started on the orzo, I'm adding 8 ounces of dry orzo into my pan here. I'm also going to add about 1 to 2 teaspoons of chicken bouillon, and I'm going to let that all cook in this skillet until the orzo is done, just following the box directions. While the orzo was cooking, my meatballs were finishing up, so I just went ahead and removed those out of the skillet so they would stop cooking. And then into the same skillet, we're just going to go ahead and add in some bell pepper now. My bell peppers were frozen, but you will need about 1 bell pepper. As you can see, I had an assortment of colors, but you can choose any color that you want. And then you'll also be adding in just a little bit of red onion. I added just a small amount. Then just to give this a little bit of seasoning, I'm going to sprinkle it lightly with some garlic, salt, and pepper. Once my orzo was done cooking, I did just take that over to the sink and drain all the water off. And then into the pan, we're going to add 2 tablespoons of butter. Once the butter has melted, you can give this a taste, and if you think it needs more salt, because I used salted butter, then just give it a little sprinkle with some more salt, and that's all you really have to do to the orzo. Moving back over here to the peppers, once they are nice and fork tender, I'm then going to add in 1 teaspoon of minced garlic. Let that garlic cook in here for about a minute or so. And then we're going to add in 1 can of tomato sauce. Give that a stir to make sure your garlic is not burning on the bottom of the pan, and just kind of scrape all the flavors off into the sauce. Then just to ease up on the tomato sauce, we're going to add about 1 to 2 tablespoons of heavy whipping cream, 1 teaspoon of Italian seasoning, a dash of red pepper flakes, but if you don't like those, go ahead and just skip that, and then give this a really good stir to combine everything together. Once the sauce is hot, I'm going to go ahead and just add in about 1/4 to 1/2 cup of shredded Parmesan cheese. You'll just need to give this a moment to let the cheese melt, and then we're going to add a little bit more seasoning in here. You just want to adjust the salt and pepper to your liking. Then to help with the acidity of the tomato sauce, I did just go ahead and add a pinch of sugar in here, but if you do not want to add that sugar, then you do not have to. Now finally, you can go ahead and add your chicken meatballs back in here and just kind of cover them up with the sauce. The meatballs will just need a minute or so to warm back up, and then you can sprinkle the top with some more Parmesan cheese and parsley. Here's what my plate looked like in the end. You'll just go ahead and add the orzo to your plate and then cover it with the sauce and these chicken meatballs. I will be linking the original recipe down below for you. I did not follow the recipe completely. I did make a couple changes, but overall this was really good and I would definitely make it again. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I do hope that you enjoyed. If you did make it all the way to the end, don't forget to leave me a flower down in the comments below to let me know that you did, and I will see you back here on Sunday with a new video. Bye!